Hey gang, welcome to the Intramural Soccer Captain's video for outdoor soccer coming up for the 2013 semester. My name is Mike Wyden. I'm the Director of Intramural Sports, and we'll be taking you through the information in this video that you'll need to be a captain for Intramural Soccer.
And I'm Tommy Shore, Assistant Director of Intramural Sports here at the University of Iowa. We'll go ahead and get going here with our Captain's video for outdoor soccer. Our intramural GAs, Andy Christopher and Matt McCarthy, you will hear from them in terms of registration, reschedules, things like that. These will be your go-to guys, and you will also see them out at the facility once in a while too. Our 7 intramural supervisors you will see on a nightly basis out at the complex. These people with their intramural sports polos on are where you need to go for questions that you have when you're out there playing, things like that. They can help you out on game nights out at the fields. IMLeagues.com you're somewhat familiar with right now, having made it this far to the captain's video. On this side we've got registration, we've got league announcements, both for outdoor soccer this spring and for all of our sports through the intramural sports program here at Iowa. As captain, you can add players to your roster on this website, check your schedules. Once you get going, once we get those schedules posted after registration ends, you can find sport rules and information sheets both for outdoor soccer and for all of our intramural sports here at Iowa. You can do that by clicking the handbooks and manuals link on the left side of that sport homepage. And once we get going in the season, you can find updated standings and brackets for the outdoor soccer season. Some responsibilities we have, we expect of you as team captains are to make sure your teammates are eligible. We'll talk about some eligibility requirements here in a minute, but it's your job as captain to make sure everybody on your roster and that is trying to play for your team is eligible. You need to make sure they know the sport rules and program rules as talked about in this video. This video isn't comprehensive for all the sport or program rules, so you can take a look at those documents and make sure your teammates do that as well. And then if we need to contact your team for any reason, you will serve as the team contact for the intramural sports office. Team roster, once you get your team roster set, you can continue to add players to your team roster to play in games. So if you got some people that can't make it one night, you need a couple more. As long as they have not played on another team, you can add those participants to your roster. This must be done by 10 a.m. the morning of your game in order for that person to be guaranteed to be on that roster. So if you play if you play on Monday night at 7 o'clock, then by 10 a.m. on Monday, you need that person to be added to your roster in order to be guaranteed that person is eligible to play. If we have any weekend games coming up, the deadline for that is 5 p.m. on Fridays for additions to your weekend roster. And then as we move along in the season, players can be added to the team's roster until 10 a.m. the day of your team's quarterfinal game. So if you continue advancing throughout the playoffs, 10 a.m. the day of that quarterfinal game is the deadline for that last roster addition. Still going with team roster a little bit, make sure as team captain you check IMLeagues.com frequently to make sure that everybody on your roster is eligible, everybody that's supposed to be there is there, things like that. It is your responsibility as team captain to ensure that everything's on the up and up with your roster. If not, if you take a look at it and you see something's messed up or isn't how it should be, you can contact us. There are situations in which staff members or somebody that was eligible at the beginning of the season changes status with the university, drops classes, something happens, and they are no longer eligible. So make sure you're checking that frequently. If you need to drop somebody from your roster, you can fill out a roster drop request form and turn that into our office. Same deadlines as roster additions, 10 a.m. on weekdays, 5 p.m. for 5 p.m. Friday for weekend games. Now fill out that form, turn it into the drop box outside E216 Fieldhouse outside our intramural sports offices, and we'll get that processed for you. A number of players on the field at a time for co-rec outdoor soccer. These are the legal lineups listed there. There's a maximum of 8 players on the field at a time. That's 4 men and 4 women. One of those must be the goalie. But if you have fewer than 8, these are the acceptable lineups. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can see them there. Again, one player must be designated the goalie and must wear a different colored shirt than the rest of the team. To be eligible to participate in intramural sports, a person must be a student, faculty, or staff member at the university. The only exception to this is a spouse or a legally married partner of an eligible student. So if you're a student or faculty or staff member that's married, your spouse member can play on that same team as you, but you must be on that team roster. Once a player enters a game on a second team, that player is ineligible. You can only play on one co-rec team in our outdoor soccer season. So once you sign in and enter a game on another team, you are ineligible for the remainder of the season for both teams. And any teams with ineligible players on that team roster will forfeit any games in which that player participated. So again, check your rosters, make sure everything's good to go. Intercollegiate soccer players are not eligible to participate in the University of Iowa Intramural Outdoor Soccer this spring semester, so make sure that you don't have any Iowa soccer players or soccer players from any other schools on your roster. Former Division I athletes in soccer must sit out full 2 semesters before being eligible to participate. So if somebody was on an intercollegiate soccer roster in the spring semester 2012, that person must sit out fall 2012 and spring 2013 before gaining eligibility in that program, in our program. Sport club athletes, no more than 2 current University of Iowa Sport Club members and or coaches are permitted to participate on the same intramural team. So, if you have sport club members or coaches, you can only have 2 total participating on your team. Otherwise, anything beyond that, we've got a problem and we'll have to deal with that administratively, and some people will be made ineligible. Once games get going, we're scheduled, you got a game that night, you get to the fields to play. Each player must present a University of ID card to check in prior to the game. So he or she's on the roster, bring your University ID card to check in, and each player will check in with the officials on his or her field. When it comes to game time, you stop by the booth, find out what field you're on, go to that field, check in with an ID with the officials, and we'll get you squared away, signed in to play that game. No ID, no play. No ID equals no play. No exceptions to this, so make sure, captains, that you are reminding your players to bring their university IDs for every game if they want to be able to play. Officials during ID checks will also be checking for metal cleats, as metal cleats are not permitted in our outdoor soccer leagues. Anyone caught misusing a University of Iowa ID, if I try to sign in using Mike's ID, that's a problem and you're not going to be able to play. So anyone caught misusing the UID is subject to suspension from intramural sports. We'll have a meeting with the intramural administrative staff about what happened, get all the parties involved there and talk about it. We'll also pass along those issues to the Dean of Students office, as that is a violation of the Student Code of Conduct, and there may be further sanctions from the Dean of Students office. Participant conduct. We expect our participants to behave themselves and act in an adult manner while they're out there. They're expected to display good sportsmanship. Any participants taking part in a fight will be immediately ejected and suspended from all recreational services activities for 1 calendar year. Aquatics, sport clubs, anything that recreational services offers, you will be suspended from for a calendar year. And again, those will be also reported to the Dean of Students office for further sanctions if they deem necessary. If we have a problem player and a person gets ejected, that person, along with the team captain, will be required to meet with the intramural sports administrative staff before becoming eligible again. The captain will be ineligible to participate until at least the time of the meeting. The ejected participant will be suspended at least 1 additional game following the time of the meeting. Sportsmanship is a key to our program. We emphasized it a lot in the last few slides, and we're going to continue on this slide as well. So our officials will be rating teams on a scale of 1 to 4. We'll be rating their sportsmanship on a scale of 1 to 4. 1 is excellent, 4 is poor. So that's how our scale works. Both teams will start the game at a 2.5, and they will either work their way up to a 2 or a 1 on the good side, or they will work their way down to a 3 or 4. We obviously want to see a lot of 2s and 1s. So if we see a 3, a team receiving a 3 will receive email notification, heads up, you got a 3, I need you to do better next time. Teams getting a 4 will be notified that they need to come in. The team captain you watching this video will need to come in and meet with us as the Intramural Sports administrative staff to talk about the game, talk about how we can be better moving forward, things like that. And then season long, you must maintain a 2.5 seasonal sportsmanship average to be eligible for the playoffs. So it doesn't matter if you win all your games, if you report sports in all of them too, and you don't have that 2.5 average, you will not be participating in our playoffs. Games are officiated by our student intramural officials. They're all trained by our intramural sports staff. Some of them may be pretty experienced, some of them may not be as experienced. But all officials will be trained by us. Please treat these officials working your games with the respect you expect to receive from them. So our officials aren't going to be yelling and screaming at you and when you make a bad pass or something like that. We don't need you to be yelling and screaming at them. If you have a question about something, we encourage you to ask them in a professional adult manner, but we're not going to respond to yelling and to criticism that's not productive to anybody. Without these officials, you guys wouldn't have any games. So we need you to be treating them with respect, and that's a key component of our program. Forfeits. If your team isn't at the game site ready to play within 10 minutes of the scheduled game time, your team will be written down for a forfeit. If you forfeit, the U.S. team captain will be fined half of the registration fee, which is $32.50 for outdoor soccer. If you forfeit, say, your first game, and then you say you want to stay in the league, and you show up for the rest of your games, you will be able to earn a refund of that forfeit fine for showing up for the remainder of your games. If you know that you can't have enough players to field a team that night, and you don't have anybody to add to your roster, you can default to avoid a forfeit. The way you do that is you notify our office by noon the day of your game. Tell us you're not going to be there. If you do that, we can be proactive about communicating with the other team and our officials that there will be no game that field that hour. The first time you do that, there's no fine. Thank you for letting us know. We appreciate it. We appreciate you giving us a heads up. The second time, if you do it again, there will be a default fine, and that will be 25% of the team captain's registration fee. Now you haven't shown up for 2 games. We want games to happen. If it happens a third time, you'll be fined 50% of the registration fee. A fine will be assessed to the team captain's U-bill. So, point of intramural sports, we want teams to sign up that are going to show up to play, and so this is a measure that we've instituted to make sure that games are happening and the teams are showing up as they are scheduled. If you have a protest about an application of a rule out at the field, not a judgment whether the ball was inbounds or out of bounds, but if an official awards a direct kick, should have been an indirect kick, you can protest that. You call a timeout immediately, say you want to protest, the intramural supervisor on duty that night will come over and give a ruling after giving the situation. If you still don't agree, then you can say you want to appeal the supervisor's ruling and do a formal protest. To do that, you make sure the supervisor has documented the game situation, that they know that you want to protest. You bring $5 and your protest form into the intramural sports office by noon the next business day to submit that protest. Mike and I will look at it, discuss the situation, determine what the correct ruling is. If the ruling on the field is upheld, then you lose your $5 and the game will stand as it is. If your protest is upheld, we will go back and play the rest of that game from the point of the protest moving forward, and you will receive your $5 back. T-shirt policy. Make sure your team has matching colored T-shirts. Obviously, the goalkeeper is going to be an exception to that and wear a different color, but make sure your team brings 2 different colored shirts to each game. We want you to bring one light color, one dark color, so that way we know that the teams will be contrasting one light and one dark, and we'll be able to tell each other apart. So make sure you and your teammates are bringing one light and one dark T-shirt to each game. Team schedules will be posted on imleagues.com on Thursday, March 14th, once we wrap up registration. That's the Thursday before spring break, and games will begin on Monday, March 25th, which is the Monday after spring break, and we'll continue that week. So be ready when we get back from spring break that we're jumping right back into intramural sports, getting going right away on that Monday and the rest of that week, weather permitting. Once we get moving, games are happening and things are going on. You can check league standings throughout the season on imleagues.com. Those are updated daily. And when we get down to the end of the season, the top 2 teams in each division of 4 will qualify for the outdoor soccer playoffs to determine our champion at the end of the season, and we'll be in touch more as the season goes along about how that'll work. Now I'm going to pass it along to Mike, who will take you through the rest of the video.
Thanks, Tommy. We're going to get into some more sport-specific rules here with our outdoor soccer league coming up for 2013 here in the spring. Our game location is going to be at the Hawkeye Recreation Fields. Those games will be played on Sunday nights through Thursday nights. The Hawkeye Recreation Fields are the same place that we play in intramural flag football. The Hawkeye Interdorm CAN bus route does make a stop out there, so if you need to get a ride through the bus, make sure you check the bus schedules for that. Some of the regulations of the facility. The facility is managed by our Department of Recreational Services. One regulation is we don't allow metal cleats. So the officials will be checking that when you check in with them with your ID. They'll make sure you don't have metal cleats, so leave those at home. Some other information about weather postponements. We do close the fields and cancel the games if the fields are not in good enough shape. We've had too much rain. And you can check that through our information line, which is 319-353-3000. You'll be prompted to press 2, and those decisions are made on the weekdays no sooner than 3 p.m. So don't call at 2:30 checking the status. You have to call after 3 on Monday through Fridays, and then on weekends we do that by noon. A little bit more about the game rules. We do 20-minute halves with running clock. We do not do injury time. So if there is a major injury, we will stop the clock. But if it's a minor injury, that's going to keep running. We don't add injury time at the end. We have a 7-minute halftime, and then the clock will stop on injuries, as I talked about, and anytime the officials have deemed necessary for some kind of unusual delay. We do have a mercy rule for our teams that are ahead by 5 or more goals with 10 minutes or less remaining in the second half. And if that's the case, then we'll just end the game at that point. And then, as Tommy talked about also, we have 8 players on the field at one time. One of those 8 will be the goalkeeper. We do have a minimum number to start of 6. So if you just have 6 show up, we will get that game started. But if you have 5 or less, then we will not get that game started. That'll be a forfeit for your team. Jewelry. As with all intramural sports, for your safety, we do not allow jewelry to be worn. So make sure you take all that off. That's earrings, that's wristbands, necklaces, anything that could potentially cause a hazard. All that jewelry has to be removed. Some of the things there you can see that we talked about that is illegal. The only thing we allow is a medical alert bracelet or necklace, and that needs to be taped down, but all the other jewelry needs to be removed. We'll start the game with a coin toss. The team that wins the coin toss will choose which goal they want to defend in the first half. The team losing the coin toss will kick off in the first half. Then in the second half, we'll switch sides, and the winner of the original coin toss will kick off that second half. Substitutions, anybody that's coming from the bench into the game or coming out of the game onto the bench must do so through the substitution zone, and those will be marked by cones at midfield. So substitutes can only enter during a dead ball. So we're not allowing full-fledged substitutions on the fly while the ball is live. So when the ball goes out of bounds, after a goal scored, after a foul's called, that's when we can substitute, but not during live play. Out of bounds stuff, sideline, if the ball goes out of bounds on the sideline, that'll result in a throw-in at that spot to the team not touch the ball last. For the end line, if it's last touched by the attacking team, that'll result in a goal kick by the goalkeeper. If it's last touched by the defending team, that will result in a corner kick, and that is a direct kick by that attacking team. Some direct free kick fouls. So these are some things that are illegal that the officials will call as a foul, and these will lead to direct free kicks. So anytime you make contact, basically that's a foul. That's kicking, tripping, striking, anything like that, a push, hold, a charge, anything like that. Those are all direct free kick fouls. A handball is a direct free kick, and also slide tackling. And slide tackling is unique in a lot of soccer. They allow that. But with intramural sports, we have a wide range of students who are playing sports, and they have a wide background of soccer experience. So with that, we've made slide tackling illegal for safety purposes. So if somebody goes out there and makes a slide tackle, that will result in a direct free kick. Some of the indirect free kick fouls, some examples of those are playing in a dangerous manner, intentional obstruction, charging a goalkeeper out of the penalty area, any kind of goalkeeper violations, or a substitution violation. Those all result in an indirect free kick where a goal cannot be scored. Then our officials will have yellow and red cards, just like typical soccer. Some examples of what could cause you to get a yellow card would be a substitution violation. That will result in a yellow card. Persistent infringement, you keep fouling, you keep doing things against the rules, that'll result. Arguing the decision or any kind of unsportsmanlike behavior can result in a yellow card. Then a red card obviously is a little more serious. That results in an ejection, which we'll talk about in a minute. But those examples can be serious foul play, intent to injure, those kind of things, violent conduct, any kind of fighting, persistent foul or abusive language toward an opponent, toward an official, or 2 yellow cards obviously results in a red card. So when we have a red card, that team that has a player ejected will play down a player for the remainder of the entire game. So no matter how many goals that other team scores, if your team gets somebody with a red card, you'll be down a player for the remainder of the game. And then that team will automatically default that game if we have more than 1 player ejected. So if Tommy and I are on a team, I get a red card, they play down a player, and Tommy gets a red card, that game is automatically ended at that point because we've had more than 1 player receive a red card. If we get to overtime, end of the regulation, we're still tied. We're going to go directly to a shootout. The shootout will be 5 kicks by each team, just like your typical shootout for any other level of soccer. Those 5 kicks are going to alternate in order, alternating order with your team and the opposing team. If we get 5 done and we're still tied, then we'll go to single kicks by either team until that tie is broken. A little bit about our Buffalo Wild Wings Points Championship. For those of you that played multiple sports, you're probably familiar with this, but if you keep the same team name, you can award, we can award your team points based upon how well you've done by either participating or finishing a certain place in the tournament for each of our intramural sports. And if you've kept your same team name, we'll accumulate those points throughout the year. Then we'll award at the end of the year here in May coming up, we'll have champions in the men's, women's, fraternity, sorority, and co-rec divisions. And each team receives a championship trophy along with a $100 gift card to Buffalo Wild Wings. And we'll also create some Buffalo Wild Wings champion t-shirts that we'll hand out for you guys if you win that program. Another program I want to talk about is our eChug program. That's a program that we've made a partnership with Student Health Services, and that's an online alcohol assessment is what eChug is. It's take about 10 minutes of your time to go in and get an assessment of your alcohol use. And so we've partnered with Student Health Services to allow you to get a complete refund of your intramural soccer entry fee if you have 75% of your final team roster take this assessment. So what we do is at the end of the season, we look at everybody's roster. If you've met this 75% threshold, then we'll allow you to get a refund of that intramural entry fee. And so details are available on our website, which you can go there, find out some more information, and it'll give you instructions on how to get started. We do provide a waitlist meeting for teams that maybe have paid their entry fee and gotten the minimum number of players and all that, but there's no spots for them. So we may be able to open up some additional leagues. And when we do that through a meeting on Wednesday, March 13th at 2 p.m. in room 201 in the field house. So if you've signed up, there's no spots for you, but you want to get in still, you're in the wait list, come to this meeting and we'll allow you to choose divisions based upon the rest of our availability. Free agent meeting, we also hold free agent meetings for large team sports for each individual who might be a free agent who doesn't have a team to play for and they're looking for a team to get added to. Or maybe you as a team captain, you know you have 5 or 6 people on your team. You try to get to that 8 number to field a full team, so you need some extra players. So this is a way we can match up teams with people that are looking to get on a team. Our meeting is Tuesday, March 12th at 2 p.m. in room 201 in the field house. So we invite you to that if you're looking for extra teammates. For those people that might want to join our officiating staff, we want you to come out if you had soccer experience as either a player or as an official, and you want to join our staff. It's a great way to make some extra money. Tuesday, March 12th at 6:30 p.m. in room 201 in the field house. We'll have our officials trainings. So if you're interested in that, you can come join our staff and get some extra money by officiating soccer. So to wrap up, some of the requirements that we need you to do here after you've watched this video is number one, pass a captain's quiz. You can take that as many times as you want. Then you need to meet the minimum player requirement, which is 6 for outdoor soccer. Once you've met that requirement, you'll be able to pay the registration fee on IM Leagues through the PayPal website. Once you've paid that, you'll be able to select the day and the time for the division that you want to play for in your regular season games. And all these things need to be done by 8 a.m. on Thursday, March 21st. So that's right after we get back from spring break. That'll come up pretty quick. So make sure you're getting all this done prior to that deadline date, and that'll allow you to get into our soccer league. And as always, if you have any questions about anything we've covered today or anything for any sport, feel free to contact our office at 335-9292, or you can email us at intramural-sports@uiowa. So thanks a lot for your time and attention. Good luck this year.